and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. It's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What's up, people? Welcome in to a Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill. Mario Jerez here alongside Jeremy Hill, Casey Gaines on the audio board, and Taylor Sharp getting us on YouTube. Hunt Palmer is on vacation. We hope he's having a good time. He deserves a little R&R, I think, before we get into the nitty-gritty of Alabama week. But we are here. We will be here for the next 2 hours. Lots to get into today. Hilly, it's been a while, man. How are you?
Ready for the Lakers sign. I came well prepared today, repping my boy Kobe Bean. Rest in peace. And let's have a great show, man. It'll be a fun Friday.
R.I.P. It always is a great show here on a Football Friday. And coming up, like we said, we have a whole lot to get into. We will make a pick for Saints versus Raiders on Sunday. Big game for both teams. Both teams have really underachieved up to this point. We'll also discuss which games we're watching in both college and NFL football this weekend. And we have one guest lined up right now. We might get another guest in the second hour, but for now, we know that at 1:30, we will talk to Carter, the Power Bryant. And in hour 2, we'll talk a little bit of NBA. Honestly, Hilly, don't know if we'll talk very much Lakers, but a big game for the Pelicans tonight, a team that was in the playoffs last season. They're at the Phoenix Suns, and as we always do, we'll do some Ask Us in the final segment of the show. As always, first hour brought to you by Angel Oak Home Loans. Shout out to Ryan Schimpf and all the good people over there as always. So it should be a good show here on a Football Friday.
Yeah, it'll be amazing, man. I wish we could just do 2 hours of straight Laker coverage and just how amazing we look this year, just going right to the finals. No, I'm kidding. I don't mind Will Pels talk today.
Cool. Hopefully not, because they have a big one tonight at the Phoenix Suns. Rematch of the first-round playoff series from last year, but it is a Football Friday, and, today will be a pretty casual show, pretty chill show. You and I, usually when we speak, we are talking basketball. I mean, you talk a lot of LSU football on this show. I talk a lot of LSU football with T-Bob and the guys in the morning on OTB. So you and I, we haven't talked LSU football in a while, and we've made it to the bye week. This is a really good time for kind of a vibe check, right? I mean, 6-2, better than I expected for sure up to this point. Tied for first place in the West heading in to the Alabama game in a couple of weeks. How you feeling, man? You optimistic? You pessimistic? You in between?
I'm always pumping purple and gold, man, and I'm pumping it out the wazoo every chance I get. And, yeah, of course, I had great intentions for this team, especially when we kind of predicted, how they would look this season. I thought 9-3 would be on the table, and that's right in front of them. If not, they could do a little bit better than that, especially with how things may go next Saturday in Death Valley. So I think anytime you're getting a new head coach and, you're changing everything around, it's easy to kind of want to throw the season in the gutter and say, you know what, we're going to go through these growing pains. We're going to get our butts kicked every Saturday and just kind of focus on next year. But, I thought teams, this team has really kind of had those growing pains where they battle through it, all season long. And I think to this point in the season to be, first place in the West, I think that's extremely impressive, for this young football team. And I think, the play of JD5 and, the play of that defense, especially in the second halves, it's really kind of uplifted this team to, one of the teams who are probably one of the hottest in the SEC right now. So, yeah, I think for LSU, you couldn't be in a better spot heading into this Alabama game.
And everything you mentioned is true, but it all starts with the head man, right? The recent birthday boy, Brian Kelly, in his first year at LSU. Because coming into the season, you and I spoke a lot of LSU football then. The media and the fans kind of already made excuses for Brian Kelly going into the season, or at least the expectations were kind of tempered, right? But so far, Brian Kelly has made no excuses, and he's definitely tempered expectations when he's spoken a little bit too, right, up to this point. But for me, after all we talked about Brian Kelly's recruiting abilities, which was such a big topic over the offseason, the freshmen have made a massive impact on this team. When you talk about Harold Perkins, Emory Jones, and Will Campbell. And the freshman tackles, those two guys, they were going to come no matter what. They bleed purple and gold, kind of like you were just saying. But getting Perkins was such a massive recruiting win for Kelly, especially when you consider who else was after him. Florida, right, with Billy Napier in his first year over there. And somehow I feel like Harold Perkins is getting a lot of love, but the two freshman tackles, as much love as those guys are getting, I don't think they're really getting enough, because to make that leap from high school to college, start playing in the SEC as a starter and playing to this level, having the team undefeated when both of those guys are on the field, that is absolutely astounding.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think anytime you got two freshman tackles in there, it could be a cause for concern. And You feel like they're going to go through those lumps and those growing pains that a lot of young offensive linemen do. But, I thought especially, since SEC play has started, they've really, really helped. And you saw, when Campbell was out of this lineup, it was really, really difficult to run the ball. It's really, really difficult to execute on offense, and you trot them back out there, and you're lighting the world on fire with 40-plus points in back-to-back weeks. So you got to continue to need on those young players to continue to have the success you've been having on offense, and probably going to get their best test of the season all year. You got a pass rusher that's probably licking his chop to get after some freshman tackles, but I think those two young players will be ready to step up to the challenge.
Oh, that's a good point. Will Anderson is definitely not like anything they've seen so far, and they've seen some good players so far, but those guys have done an excellent job. And like you said, JD5, man, I honestly did not think he was capable of what we've seen the last 2 weeks. Like, for me, how much he's improved in so little time is really impressive. And in the last 2 games, the stats look really good. 762 total yards. He accounts for 11 touchdowns. But for me, the way he kind of controlled the game against Ole Miss was really impressive. We know that defense plays with the 3-man front, 3 safeties on the back end. And Daniels, I think, was kind of a maestro in controlling the game and reading those safeties. When they kept it back in coverage, he was really good in the zone read game. And when he had to throw the ball, he threw the ball really well. Although Jaray Jenkins, I thought, bailed him out on that 1 touchdown pass. But this guy is balling out right now. And honestly, I was kind of wrong about him. After what we saw in the first game against Florida State and the game against Auburn, where LSU had like 6 passing yards in the entire second half, I didn't really think he was capable of this, and he deserves a lot of credit, and the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for, number 1, being patient with him, and number 2, slowly but surely bringing him along and helping him get to this point.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think anyone would be wrong to kind of, have some concerns or some criticism with the play. The quarterback position to start this year. I mean, you've had a half with 5 passing yards in it, and you've had, just those, lulls in the offense where you just weren't scoring touchdowns. And so I think to call that, I don't think you're too far off. But, the play of him these past 2 weeks has, exponentially gone up. And I heard Matt Flynn say he's never seen a progression that quick ever in his time watching quarterbacks play. And I think that's a really, accurate assessment with just how well he's played these last 2 weeks. And you just haven't seen him play to that level for huge stretches of the season. And so I think for LSU and this team, why you feel so great about them is because you do have that quarterback, that can light the world on fire with his legs, but also, not afraid to take those vertical shots downfield with the weapons he has on the outside. And for this team to, kind of have those aspirations that, no one in the world thought they would have, they're going to have to continue to have him play to this level. And I think for Coach Kelly, that's kind of why you saw him stick it out with him. People were asking that every question, when are you going to see Nuss, when are you going to see Nuss? And Coach Kelly decided to continue to play JD5, and JD5 answered the bell. And so I think that's a version of quarterback play that this team needs, and hopefully you can get that going forward for the rest of the season. And
Brian Kelly deserves a lot of credit for that, like you said, being really patient. And I think a big theme during the bye week amongst media and fans alike was the fact, or the opinion, that Brian Kelly has overachieved up to this point. And I said it at the start of the show, just by record, 6-2, being in first place in the SEC West up to this point, for me, they have overachieved. What would your answer to that question be?
I'm always pumping purple and gold. Maybe I'm a little delusional, but I want to be competitive every single Saturday. So I think, that's exactly where you want to be. And I think that Coach Kelly has those same expectations. Like, they're not going out there, chalking it up and saying we're going to, lose football games. They want to go out there and compete every single time. I was on that sideline, after they lost to Tennessee, and you just kind of saw the look on everyone's faces. And that's just not a team that's kind of hanging it up for this year. Those guys want to go out there and compete every single Saturday. Now, if you're talking about Vegas or the fans or what the Alabama fans think, I think, yeah, you could say maybe they, definitely overextended expectations. But, for everyone in that locker room, and for a guy like myself who's been in that locker room, I think they're right where they need to be and continue to compete every single Saturday.
Yeah, Tennessee was rough, man. I was in the press box for that game as well, and I tweeted at the time that calling Baton Rouge doesn't really hit the same when you're down by 30 points going into the fourth. That game wasn't really competitive, and that was a really tough loss up to that point in the season, but it's been really impressive to see how this team has rebounded on both sides of the ball. Special teams has gotten a little bit better, but they definitely need a little bit of work as well. The Tennessee game was tough, but you get a couple of big wins, and now you get a bye week before Alabama, something that has been the case for a really long time. This is always when LSU has that off week, and you've had that experience of going through that and then eventually facing Alabama, considered to be the best program in the country. How helpful at all is that extra week of preparation, specifically going into that Alabama game?
Oh, it's great. You couldn't get it against a better team. Get a chance to refresh your body, get a chance to reset, get a chance to kind of focus in and really lock into one opponent. You get 2 whole weeks to kind of get their game plan, and normally Alabama's running that 3-4 front back in the day that, you just really don't see on a Saturday basis in college football. But now everyone's kind of running the spread, so you're seeing a lot of, 4-man fronts and a lot of 6 DB sets. But I think for Alabama, I think you definitely need that extra week to kind of focus on kind of that Nick Saban defense and what they're doing, all their blitzes, and get extra time to look at that. And as an offense, kind of, really trying to execute at a higher level than what you have to start the season. But the way they played these last 2 weeks, I think getting that extra week can, give them a better chance of replicating that against the Alabama defense.
So Alabama, in my opinion, I think a little vulnerable. I know a lot of people are saying that it took Tennessee's absolute best effort to just beat them by 6 feet with that field goal at the end. But on the road, really for the last couple of years, Alabama has been a little bit suspect. And this is an LSU team that has that extra week of preparation. They have momentum going into this game. But to me, I look across the sideline at Alabama, and I'm not sitting here predicting an LSU victory just yet, but right now, I think LSU has a really good shot in this game, man. I've been saying all week that I'm with the trope that I'm ready to get hurt again. To me, LSU is already overachieving. And going into this game, man, honestly, from just a betting standpoint, I might take LSU in the points. Again, Alabama on the road. We saw it against Texas where they struggled. If Quinn Ewers doesn't get injured in that game, Lord knows what happens. And then they lose to Tennessee. In the game against Arkansas, they kind of dominated, pulled away, despite the fact their backup quarterback was in the game, which was impressive. But if you take that away, Alabama has struggled on the road a little bit. Last year, too, against Auburn. If your boy stays in bounds, that's probably a loss, and maybe it's a different story for Brian Harsin going into this season. But do you think Alabama is a little bit vulnerable?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you kind of give up 52 points, I don't care who it's against, it's not a Saban defense of old, and you kind of see a little chinks in that armor right now. And look no further than last year, and you don't believe in moral victories. I sure don't believe in moral victories, but, this LSU team played them extremely tight, and I think, the quarterback play you're getting now is exponentially better than what you saw walking into Bryant-Denny Stadium last year. So got the receivers back. You didn't have Kayshawn in that game. Really, you're playing with guys like Pitt Cage and things of that nature. I just think it's just a lot different team, and now you're factoring in these guys are going to be playing in Death Valley at nighttime. And so, yeah, I'm not saying Alabama's going to walk into Death Valley and just storm them off the field. You have no shot. I think, with the way you've been playing these last 2 weeks and kind of looking at Alabama on the road and kind of their secondary giving up some big plays. And even again, last week against Mississippi State, they dropped some touchdown passes. They got close and just weren't able to execute at a high enough level. I can see this LSU team find a way to get victory against Alabama.
Yeah, the way I've been talking about it to Musso in the hallway when we've been talking about this game this week is that I've seen a lot worse LSU teams or a lot worse LSU teams hang with a lot better Alabama teams. Like the last 2 years or the last 2 times these teams played in Tiger Stadium, it was really ugly. The COVID year in 2020, the year Joe Burrow got hurt, separated his shoulder, 2018, they shut you out. But the 2 games before that, LSU was right there. You could argue they kind of pissed those games away, right? Mm-hmm. Towards the very end. In 2014 in overtime, in 2016 when they had a really good defensive performance. I could see this game maybe be like one of those games. But this time, LSU is a much more disciplined team. They're a much more sound football team on both sides of the football. And if they get to that scenario, if they just give themselves a chance, they can actually win this thing.
Yeah, no, they definitely can. I think for this team, you've kind of seen them really kind of hit their stride. And anytime you're shutting out teams in the second half, it's extremely impressive. We've kind of seen this Ole Miss kind of offense light the world on fire, especially in the run game and scoring, 30-plus points on certain teams. And, you shut those guys down. So anytime you got a defense playing at that level, forcing turnovers, you got Perkins getting after the quarterback, that's the type of performance you're going to need for a Bryce Young offense who they know if they lose this game, you can pretty much almost count out going to the SEC championship and winning the national title. So you're going to get the best version of Alabama coming into Death Valley, and so I think that'll be a great matchup for the Tigers.
You have a rowdy atmosphere. You have a quarterback that's playing really well, both running the ball and throwing the ball. All the ingredients are there, but obviously it's going to take a really good week of preparation, and it's going to take a great effort, 60 minutes from LSU if they want to defeat Alabama. So we'll preview that game as we go on today's show. On the other side of this break, though, we'll talk a little bit of NFL as your former teammate Tom Brady took another loss last night. The Buccaneers fall to the Ravens. We'll recap that game, and we'll touch on some big injury news in the NFL as a former LSU Tiger going to miss some time, and that's going to be critical for his team. We'll get into all of that on the other side of this break. This is the Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill on 104.5.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
One of the things I love about betting on the NFL is that I'm always finding new players or game props that I like. And what's cool about FanDuel Sports is you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score even a bigger payout, perfect for tonight's game.
There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet, so lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook. New to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can sign up today with the promo code 1045ESPN for your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's promo code 1045ESPN. And remember, first online real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Night in the prep football season, and we get you started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic Eye in Scotlandville kick off at 7, and that's immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care, Total Occupational Medicine, Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is a Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill. Mario Jerez here, filling in for a vacationing Hunt Palmer. We hope he's having a great trip. As always, the first hour is brought to you by Angel Oaks home loan. We will talk some NFL here in a second. But first, programming note, we do have a second guest lined up for today. We'll talk to Carter Bryant in the next segment about a little LSU football. And in the second hour at 2:30, we'll talk to Joel Myers, the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans. We could talk to him about the Pelicans. We could talk to him about the Lakers, too, because he used to broadcast there as well. So we're looking forward to talking to Joel Myers in the second hour of the show. But for now, let's talk a little bit of NFL, Hilly. Ravens 27, Buccaneers 22 on Thursday Night Football. Lamar Jackson started the game out really slow, but I thought he played really well in the second half when he had 238 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air. Meanwhile, Tom Brady has watched his team lose now 3 games in a row for the first time since 2002. That's 20 years. I'm glad the Bucs lost for Saints purposes. The NFC South continues being the worst division in the NFL. And as far as this game goes, to me, Lamar Jackson definitely has his warts as a passer. I know Taylor and many people very critical of him, but he's electrifying, and he definitely made the plays necessary to win the game last night. Tampa Bay, not so much. Their entire team is injured, and they continue to lose games. What were your thoughts on last night's matchup?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that's kind of been plaguing this Bucs offense, and you saw them have success this season. They were able to get somewhat of a run game, and they just have not been able to do that. You know, they got a center and a guard in there who playing some of the worst football in the NFL right now, and they just haven't been able to get playoff Lenny going at all, and really have an absent run game when you're forcing, Tom to drop back time and time again. He's at 44 pass attempts, which I just don't think, is very viable with that offensive line they have. I know they have the receivers on the outside, but they just haven't been able to run the ball to the level they need to kind of be balanced and kind of do the things that they want to do and really be executed at a higher level. And so I thought for the Ravens, big time spot for them to go on the road and get a win for them because, the Bengals are right there challenging them, for the AFC North. And if, they lose that game, then, they just make that avenue a lot tougher than they were. But I thought Lamar, did a phenomenal job last night. Probably had some throws he would like to get back, but, all you want to do is go on the road and win football games. And I thought Lamar did, more than enough last night to do that.
Yeah, you make a good point about Tom Brady's pass attempts. If he's getting up close to his age, that's usually not a good thing, and that was the case last night. And I don't want to put too much on him because, again, the situation with the injuries on the O-line is terrible. He's down a couple receivers too, but he's really struggling right now, man. And to me, it's kind of crazy to see at the same time we're seeing LeBron James' team struggle, Tom Brady being in the situation he is. I mean, he's now lost 5 out of his last 6 regular season games, and it's the first time in his 23-year career that his team has been 3-5. It's just something we're not used to. And I thought Tristan Wirfs, the second-year left tackle for the Bucs, had a really interesting quote after the game. Tell me what you think about this. I hope he plays as long as he can. I'd love to play with him forever. I love Tom. I wish everything was going perfect. If it's the last year for him or whatever, we're just trying to ball, and it's frustrating when stuff's not working and we don't have the answer in front of us. Do you think Tampa Bay flailing the way they are kind of feeling a little pressure to play better because this might be Tom's last season?
I don't think so. I don't think any of those guys are going into the huddle thinking, "Oh my goodness, this may be Tom's last season."
They're saying it to reporters, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's subconscious thing. I think they're going out there trying to execute and win, and these guys have contracts on the line. They all want to, play well and provide for their family and everything of that nature. I just think, they got problems, and they're not being able to run the football. They don't have their starting offensive line out there, and it's just been really hard for them to, get the run game going. They're just being pass-centric. And in the National Football League, especially when you're playing competitive teams, it's hard to beat them one-faceted, especially, like you said, when you got a quarterback that's 45 years old. So for the Bucs, I think, they got a lot of issues they have to deal with. Looks like they just lost Shaquille Barrett for the season, which is not great. Probably great news for Saints fans, not great news for Bucs fans. And it's kind of everything kind of going wrong for the Bucs right now, and especially with a lot of people, picking them to do some big-time things this year, especially with Tom coming back.
It's really reminiscent to me of what you're seeing with the Saints. They have Tom Brady, which should make them feel better if you're making that comparison. But Todd Bowles, in his first year as head coach with Tampa Bay, he's been a head coach in the NFL before, did a decent job, I think, with New York. But to me, I think it's interesting if you kind of look at it from Bruce Arians' point of view. And do you think that he will be doing a better job in this situation? Because I'm curious whether he maybe feels a little bit vindicated. Maybe he would be doing a better job in this spot just with his credentials. Or is he upset because his team is not doing as well and Todd Bowles is in a really, really tough situation in his first year as Tampa's head coach?
I don't think it'll look that much different. I mean, Arians was at a CEO at that point of his career. I mean, Leftwich was still calling the plays and Bowles was calling plays on defense. So I don't know exactly just how much difference it's going to look, and it seems like he's still very, very involved with the coaching right now, even still with this new role that he has.
Yelling at Lattimore, getting in fights.
Yeah, so I think for that, I don't see the needle moving that much with him being the head coach. But, who knows? I think this is just a different land for the Bucs, especially when they have a Tom at quarterback. I don't think anyone could have predicted this.
Tampa Bay is 3-5, and believe it or not, this Sunday's game between Atlanta and Carolina will determine the sole first place leader in the NFC South up to this point. That's crazy. I bet we all had that on our bingo cards going into week 8 of the NFL season. But big win for the Ravens last night and a tough loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We said we had some big injury news, and this involves your former team, Hilly. Jamar Chase for the Bengals looks like he's going to miss some time, and he's going to miss a lot of time. According to ESPN, Chase expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks because of a hip injury, and because of the timeline of this recovery, you could see Jamar Chase placed on IR in the next couple of days, which would keep him out a minimum of 4 weeks. In 7 games this season, Jamar Chase has been a little pedestrian based on what he did his rookie season, but still really solid. 47 catches, 605 yards, and 6 touchdowns. How big is this for your Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, it's huge. Anytime you got most electric receivers in all of football, and you lose that guy in the middle of the season when you're trying to make a run, and it seems like the Bengals offense is finally hitting that stride that you want to hit. It's always tough to lose a guy like Jamar. And the great thing about the Bengals, though, they got 2 other well-respectable receivers on the outside, pass catching tight end, and obviously Mixon can do some damage in the pass game itself. And we kind of know the quarterback that Joe is. He's not afraid to pass it around, but it's definitely a huge loss anytime you're using a talented receiver like that.
Were you at the game in the Superdome when they played the Saints?
No, I'm not going to a Saints game. What are we doing?
Man, okay.
What are we doing?
Last time you were there, the Bengals won too. So but I will tell you, I was there though. And if you're somebody who's a very, very big LSU fan and a very, very big Saints fan, like I know a lot of people here in Baton Rouge, Hunt included, your co-host, are way more about LSU than they are about the Saints. But I kind of love both teams equally. And obviously I was really peeved when all that happened, but it was kind of cool from Jamar's point of view, seeing him get to do that in his hometown, making the plays that he did and scoring the go-ahead touchdown. That had to be a really cool moment from him. After the last time he was there, he was lifting up the trophy for LSU. So that was a really cool moment for him. But unfortunately, he is injured for Cincinnati. Do you think T. Higgins is able to hold it down? If you're a T. Higgins owner in fantasy football, should you be pumped up?
Yeah, you should definitely be pumped up. He's got to definitely, be the number 1 receiver going forward. He's got to have to, pick up that slack, that Jamar's a big void that Jamar's, taking out of that receiving core. But, I think for T. Higgins, he's got to have a great opportunity to go out there and really make some big-time plays. We saw him make some big-time touchdowns. We saw him, really get targeted by Joe, and I think that's a big target that he can feed and really have to step up big with Jamar being out.
Jamar will be out at least 4 weeks, it looks like, for the Cincinnati Bengals. ESPN reports that he will miss 4 to 6 weeks because of a hip injury. And before we go to break, I guess another little bit of news. Have you been on Twitter? Have you been on social media? Have you seen all the talk, all the quote-unquote rumors about Alvin Kamara potentially being traded?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, though. Everyone's always going to be in trade rumors and all that stuff. Unless I'm hearing it from the GM and the owners, I don't believe any of that stuff.
It appears you are correct based on reports we've seen since then and based on Alvin Kamara's Twitter, because yesterday Alvin Kamara posted a tweet of a young Michael Jackson in a movie theater scarfing popcorn into his mouth. Looks like he's just watching everything unfolding. It's really entertaining, but none of that's going to actually happen. And Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, reported this morning that a source with the Saints, or a source close to the Saints, say that they are not interested in trading Alvin Kamara, and a source close to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that was rumored to be in kind of the sweepstakes here for Alvin, is not interested in making that trade at this time either. So Alvin Kamara will stay a Saint, and that's a really good thing because he's been really productive for New Orleans this season. So that'll do it for our NFL talk here in the first hour. On the other side of this break, we will transition to some college football talk as we talk to Carter the Power Bryant. Before we do that, I want to remind you that our opening hour each and every Friday is brought to you by our friend Ryan Schimpf over there at Angel Oak Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a new home or you're just looking to refinance your current home, Ryan Schimpf and the team at Angel Oak Home Loans are here to help. Maybe you're self-employed, maybe you're an investor, and you're having a tough time finding a loan. Angel Oak can get creative for you and get you approved. Contact former Tiger and Major Leaguer Ryan Schimpf at ryanschimpf.com or angeloakhomeloans.com. And we certainly thank them for bringing you the lunch hour every Friday on Hunt and Hill. We talk LSU football and look ahead to the college football weekend with Carter Bryant on the other side. This is Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hold down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana each and every day here on Hunt and Hill. All October long, it has been our pleasure to tell you about Fresh Junkie Racing.
Yeah, Fresh Junkie Racing is a group of racing enthusiasts that have taken their love of running and built a business providing citizens from across the state a way to get moving and stay moving. Created by athletes for athletes, Fresh Junkie Racing hosts world-class road racing events and triathlons right in Louisiana, welcoming crowds from across the globe to experience this place we call home.
You want to get moving on Thanksgiving? Turkey Trot here in Baton Rouge on Convention Street. That is Thanksgiving morning. And also the Tammany Turkey Trot taking place in Covington on North Columbia. Those are, again, Thanksgiving morning. If you want to get the blood moving before a big old lunch, you can do that. 18 events every year from Fresh Junkie Racing here in Louisiana. Louisiana Marathon, the biggest of them all. $5.2 million in economic impact on our great state. Fresh Junkie Racing doing its part to keep people healthy and active, also helping out our economy here in Louisiana. That's why they are a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, whether it's a nonprofit, a person, a business, anybody doing great things in our great state, we need to tell their story right here on Hunt and Hill like we are Fresh Junkie Racings. They are a champion of Louisiana presented by LWCC. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jdacody.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
NFL is back. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. with Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday with Jimmy Ott, immediately followed by the New York Jets and the New England Patriots at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to the show. This is a Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill, sans the Hunt. I am Mario Jerez filling in for Mr. Palmer alongside Jeremy Hill as we welcome in our first guest of the program. A reminder before we talk to Carter the Power Bryant that the first hour every Friday brought to you by Angel Oak Home Loans. And with that, we welcome in the host of Power Hour LSU on YouTube, at Carter the Power on Twitter, Mr. Carter Bryant. Carter, how are you, my friend?
Happy Friday, fellas. Are you freaking kidding me? We get the bye week before nighttime in Death Valley, and here's what's really spicy about this. This weekend's SEC games, are you freaking kidding me? This slate is so freaking good, right? You have, obviously, Tennessee, Kentucky, you have Florida and Georgia, but really, guys, Arkansas, Auburn has always produced weird results. You got Missouri, you got South Carolina, two teams that are mid, but who cares? They're going to be a close game. We're going to have some compelling football in the Southeastern Conference this weekend. Are you kidding me?
It's exciting stuff, man. And since you brought up the slate, I want to ask you about one game in particular, and that's Ole Miss at Texas A&M. A lot of people on this station have made fun of the Aggies this week with everything that's going down. Forget the 3-4 record. They're having guys getting suspended. There are incidents going on, incidents rumored to be involving weed. Like, it's a crazy situation over there. How would you describe what's going down in College Station?
Yeah, it's very predictable. You know, before the season began on my SEC channel, Power Hour SEC, my two favorite plays before the year was Auburn under their win total and Texas A&M under their win total. And, you know, JL, you could speak to this. You can have the most talent in the world, but if you have an outdated offensive scheme, you're going to lose. And that's essentially where Texas A&M is right now. Now, what's really interesting, and a lot of LSU fans can attest to what happened this past weekend, that was the most physically dominant performance in the trenches I can remember in quite some time when it comes to LSU football, right? It reminds you of the older days, the way LSU was able to dominate both sides of the football, especially as the game moved on. I think, you know, when I was coming through the film last week, as far as Ole Miss is concerned, what really shocked me was just how badly their offensive line performed. And if there is one good spot on Texas A&M's team, it's their defensive line. Now, at times they have underperformed, but overall that unit still has a ton of talent. So, you know, as much as I want to see Ole Miss just really put the nail in the Texas A&M coffin, I think that at the very least, gives Jimbo Fisher a fighting chance this weekend.
No, you're not breaking any ground news, just riding the 5-star prospect. But I always got to ask about my man, Harold Perkins. What do you think about the nickname Percules? And also, how many snaps do you think he plays against Alabama?
Man, I love that nickname. I just love everything there is about Harold Perkins. And, you know, the football gods treated us. You know, even let's just say you're listening to this and you're not an LSU fan. Just be very happy he didn't go to Texas A&M, right, where, you know, his talents would have been wasted. I mean, this is a transcendent talent that, you know, Jeremy, you and I, we both love Lane's offense. Lane, you know, obviously brought up how good Harold Perkins is. Now, as far as what they're going to do next, you know, weekend versus Alabama, it just comes down to how Matt House wants to use Harold Perkins, right? You know, what really worked for LSU last week was when they actually subbed out B.J. Ojolari and they had Harold Perkins play the jack role, and, you know, they were able to cover, you know, more space with him in that role. And then what really got feisty was when they put Harold Perkins and B.J. Ojolari on the field at the same time, which was a big reason why LSU was able to beat Mississippi State. That formation worked, and this formation worked really well this past weekend versus Ole Miss in that offensive line. You know, what was very interesting, Jay Hill, and, you know, it's one of those things if you're, you know, a running back as a personal protector, or if you're an offensive lineman, you know, just sitting back in your pass blocking stance. LSU really found something when they started moving their front four around, when they put Wingo rushing at a defensive end role, and then they put B.J. Ojolari rushing in a 2-point stance, but out of a 3 technique, which is where a defensive tackle normally lines up. And because you have someone like Harold Perkins, and because you have very scheme versatile defensive linemen, that's going to give Alabama some issues next weekend.
Interesting you bring up Lane Kiffin. His comments about Harold Perkins to me were crazy. Like, it's not very often you hear a coach say they put 40 in or they had him in more, and that was what made the main difference in the game. And I also thought he was a good sport when a reporter asked him his favorite Taylor Swift song. Did y'all see that? He was like, I have one, but I can't give it to you until we win the game. Like, college football is in a completely different place when you have coaches talking about Taylor Swift after a tough loss.
Yeah, I'm not really a Swiftie.
Me neither.
I did find one thing very interesting though. I wonder how banged up Jackson Dart actually is, right? And I think that's going to be huge, as you play this game versus Texas A&M. And look, Texas A&M, they will be at home. Jimbo is far worse on the road than he is at home. We saw it this past weekend, versus South Carolina. And you look at where Texas A&M is good and where they're not. At the very least, they do have something with their skill position guys. But obviously, the suspensions and all the off-field stuff, it's going to be an interesting one this next weekend.
It should be. I'll leave it open-ended for you, Carter. I admitted at the start of the show that I was straight up wrong about Jaden Daniels. Both coming into the season, I thought Garrett Nussmeier would be the quarterback that could maybe give LSU some more upside. And then after the first few games of the season, I did not think he was capable of doing what he has done the last two games. So that being said, how would you describe the play of JD5 in the last two games for LSU?
He's just gritty, right? I mean, my favorite thing about Jaden Daniels, obviously, we have just a truly transcendent runner of the football, right? We see someone that adds so much to the game with his running ability. And, early in the season, a lot of people just viewed him as, like a running quarterback. But honestly, he is beyond special with the football in his hands. It's amazing how many tackles this guy misses over the course of the game. But, my favorite thing, Mario, is he's available. And this is a guy who's never really been hurt. This is a guy that just, takes all these tough shots and just continues to make big plays. And honestly, the difference is these past couple of weeks is even though the ball sometimes can flutter out of his hands, even though sometimes the ball can be a little late, it gets there, right? At least he started taking these shots that Brian Kelly has been, begging Jaden Daniels to take. So, since then, that's obviously added an extra dimension to this LSU offense. And I think, when you play a team like Alabama, you got to start hitting more of these shots, right? There were a few that were missed early in the game versus Ole Miss. And if Jaden continues to take the chances and throw the football on time, LSU's going to have a shot versus Alabama for sure.
Yeah. What do you think the atmosphere is going to be like in Death Valley for that Alabama matchup?
Woo! Bang! It's going to be great, man. I'm really excited about it. And look, it's interesting when you look at the point spread of this game, right? Floating around 16.5. So, if you're LSU, you honestly have, you're kind of playing with house money. Not a lot of people had you at 6-2. And I think one thing that's very interesting, Jay Hilly, about this game is after week one, LSU was the only SEC team that didn't win. And not only were they the only SEC team that didn't win, they were the only SEC team that just quite frankly didn't really look that good, right? Even though they valiantly came back and only lost by one, it was a very shaky performance. And the fact that LSU is where they are right now, I think a lot of LSU fans go into this Alabama game saying, look, we are ahead of schedule, right? And Brian Kelly was asked about that last week, and it's just amazing how hard this team has fought. And honestly, you give Brian Kelly a lot of credit for the coaching. You give a lot of credit for, making the in-game adjustments that the last staff struggled to make. But ultimately, as an LSU fan, if you're listening to this right now, I think the biggest takeaway about this team is the young nucleus that's there, right? You've had three true freshman superstar players in Emory Jones and Will Campbell and obviously Harold Perkins. And you have these other true freshman guys, Demario Tolan getting snaps. And most notably, Mason Taylor having his best game of his career, Jay Hill. He blocked amazingly last week, and that wasn't the case in some of these other SEC games. So, looking into this Alabama game, yeah, the atmosphere is going to be absolutely feisty. It's going to be your typical Saturday night in Death Valley, which, I love. But honestly, looking at the long term, LSU's got so many great young players, and that sets itself up nicely for a future championship run.
Carter the Power Bryant is our guest here on Hunt and Hill. We're talking a little LSU versus Alabama, 8 days away from the big matchup inside of Death Valley. Talking about this specific Alabama team, Carter, do you think maybe they're a little vulnerable? Because to me, they've looked suspect on the road the last really couple of years, and it hasn't been talked about much, but this same LSU team, or last year's LSU team, was really close to getting the win against Bama in Tuscaloosa. Now they're visiting Baton Rouge. This LSU team has a lot of momentum. Do you think it's fair to say Bama is a little bit vulnerable compared to past years?
Yeah, I think if you look at it from a macro standpoint, right, I feel as if this is an Alabama team. And look, they've won without Bryce Young, and you give Jalen Milroe a lot of credit for that. But I feel as if this is the one offense that I've seen where the quarterback is truly pulling the offense. And it is just utterly ridiculous how well Bryce Young played versus Tennessee, albeit in a loss. But it's just amazing how good this guy's been just in general. And the weirdest thing about this Alabama team is, everyone will say LSU got the best receivers in the SEC over the past decade, and I would agree with that. But this is the first Alabama receiving corps that doesn't really have someone that makes you shiver your timbers, if you will. There's nobody on that wide receiver group that just scares you at all. And look, LSU secondary these past couple of weeks have gotten beaten deep a few times, which is a little bit concerning. But overall, Alabama's receivers just don't scare me as much. I know Holden's a decent player. I know Ja'Cory Brooks, number 7, is a fine player as well. But, man, this is one of those matchups where I think LSU's secondary feels pretty good about where they are. And obviously, a few years ago, we couldn't have said that with Devonta Smith out there. So, for me, as far as Alabama is concerned, yeah, we know about their pass rush. Yes, and I know, Jay Hill, you're super fired up about this. Elias Durant finally getting the opportunity to play, and hopefully BTJ or Kayshawn posterizes him here in a few weeks. But, man, Alabama's always going to have a lot of talent. This is a team that stops a run and runs the football really well. But something else that's been a little bit interesting about this Alabama team, they are capable of making big special teams mistakes. We saw a big one versus Tennessee. We saw a few huge ones versus Arkansas that allowed Arkansas to get back into the game. So I know as LSU fans, we, take a deep breath whenever LSU goes out for special teams, but Alabama fans have been doing the same. So that could potentially be the difference in this game.
Carter the Power Bryant giving us some great insight on LSU football. As always, big game in 8 days. I know Carter will have a lot of cool stuff going on his show. Check out LSU Power Hour on YouTube. As always, Carter, thanks so much for the time, man. Thanks for bringing the energy. Have a great week, and hopefully, honestly, I hope I see you on campus on Saturday. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Thanks, Jay Hill. Thanks, Mario. And one more thing. Let's go Pels, baby. I know Jay Hill's rocking the Kobe jersey. Oh, man, the Lake Show. Jay Hill, I need to get you out on the court, man. Let's go.
Loving the Lakers slander. Laugh now. You're going to cry later. Go Lakers. And appreciate you coming on, Carter.
We're going to do a lot of laughing at the Lakers this year. No worries. Thanks, Carter. Have a good one, man.
All right, buddy.
There he goes, Carter the Power Bryant. We will talk NBA later on in the show, and actually we'll talk about it on the other side of this segment because Karl Anthony Towns had some really interesting comments about one of his teammates, and some might say offensive comments. I want to get your point of view as a former professional athlete, and we'll talk about that next. We'll also talk to Joel Myers, TV radio play-by-play voice of the Pelicans, coming up at 2:30. That's all coming up here on Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
Bayou Ford. All the inventory is there at BayouFord.com. The Broncos are there. They are really, really nice. Check those out if you're more of a sports car guy. Want the Ford Mustang? They got those as well. I'm an Explorer driver. My dad's in the Expedition. Jeremy's got the F-250. All proud Ford drivers. We love them. If you're looking for a Ford, check it out at BayouFord.com.
Yeah, head over to BayouFord.com. They've got a new special tab that updates daily. It's complete with a photo of the vehicle, the savings you could score, as well as a video profile on the vehicle and all of its features. Don't see anything you love? That's okay. Keep coming back because those will update on the site as Bayou Ford rolls them out. It's all right there at BayouFord.com.
The website's awesome, like Jeremy said. I mean, every single car they've got, you can look at the video, the features, the Carfax are all there. Give it a look. If you find what you want, awesome. If you don't, They'll customize a vehicle and they can turn it around in 60 to 90 days. Bayou Ford is the website. BayouFord.com is the website. Bayou Ford, they're going to do right by you.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit. Let's go, defense! We get it done with passion for our fans and love for our community. We are the Tigers. Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance. This summer, visit your local Acura dealer.
Moscona inviting you to join us for a Football Friday edition of AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. The Right Radio Hours return. Phil Steele picks the biggest games in college football. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hunt and Hill. As always, it is brought to you by Angel Oaks Home Loans. And Hilly, I want to get your take on something really quick. So the Timberwolves are 3-2. Apparently, Anthony Edwards, really talented second-year player, hasn't been playing very well in back-to-backs for Minnesota. They asked Karl Anthony Towns, his teammate, supposedly his the Minnesota's leader, veteran leader, about that, and this is what he said.
Ant was just telling us that he puts a lot of this on him, and he's got to be better in back-to-backs, that he has not done that so far. Can you help him through that, or just is that a young player trying to figure out what to do in this league and how to answer the bell 2 nights in a row?
Maybe I could do a better job of teaching him how to take care of his body, diet and everything. So that'll be on me. I know y'all think it's funny up here when he talks about Popeyes and all that. That doesn't make me happy to hear. We're high level athletes, so
Have you ever seen a teammate get called out for bad eating habits as a professional?
No, I've never seen that. I mean, everyone has their own leadership approach. So for Cat, you know, when you're losing games and things aren't going your way, and you know, you just give up 5 picks to get Rudy Gobert, the France center. You know, your expectations are to win, and they're really dependent on Ant to play well. And you know, sometimes you got to look at, you know, professional athletes like, you know, one of those cars that you have to put premium in. You can put regular in it, but it's just not going to perform as well. But you know, some athletes are different, and you can kind of eat what you want, and it really doesn't affect your play that much, and you can go out there to play well. So I'll say every athlete's different. And so for Ant, he just has to figure out what's best for his body. And, you know, if the Popeyes is really affecting his play, then probably need to cut back on that. But I think as a young player, he's uber talented, and he's one of the more special talents in this league. I think he'll figure it out with the Popeyes or without it.
For what it's worth, there is a picture of Brandon Ingram. Maybe we'll bring it up later of him eating just a bunch of Popeyes. Like, he has multiple sandwiches, he has strips, he has the regular 3-piece combos. And for what it's worth, Popeyes also had a reply to this whole thing. They tweeted out 2 days ago, "Good luck to every high-level athlete who eats Popeyes, regardless of what their teammates say," in a direct call out to Karl Anthony Towns. So shout out to Popeyes. I thought that was really interesting. That'll do it, pretty much do it for the first hour here on Hunt and Hill. Shout out to Ryan Schimpf and Angel Oak Home Loans, bringing you that every single Friday. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll talk some NBA, look ahead to Pelicans and Suns tonight with the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans, Joel Myers. Looking forward to that conversation. We'll also give you a pick on Saints Raiders on Sunday, and we'll open hour 2 looking ahead to the biggest games in college and pro football. That's coming up next here on Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it,
but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. World Series Game 1 tonight in Houston. The Astros hosting the Phillies. Houston's Dusty Baker won a World Series as a player back in 1981 with the Dodgers. But in 25 years as a manager, he's still looking for his first title.
I'm just a ball player that's trying to play ball. And trying to win, I'd love to win. I've always said if I win one, I win two. So you got to win the one first, and then you work on number two at that time.
Baker sends Justin Verlander to the mound tonight. The Phillies counter with Aaron Nola. Our Game 1 coverage starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our Adam Schefter reports Buccaneers linebacker Shaq Barrett will miss the rest of the season with a torn left Achilles. He got hurt in last night's loss to the Ravens. Jets wideout Corey Davis out for Sunday's game against the Patriots with a knee injury. Our ESPN Friday night NBA doubleheader, Pacers and Wizards in D.C. at 7:30 Eastern. That'll be followed by the Pelicans and Suns in Phoenix.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
1, 2, 3. Hunt and Hill. Hunt Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, it's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What's up, people? It is a Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill, and this is hour number 2. Mario Jerez alongside Jeremy Hill, Casey Gaines on the audio board, Taylor Sharp getting us on YouTube. Hunt's still on vacation, but we are here for another hour, and these are really happy times, Hilly. I mean, you have all the sports going on. You have a holiday coming up on Monday, which I just remembered. Are you and Hunt dressing up? Is that a thing on this show? Do y'all dress up?
Nope.
No?
Full Laker gear. That's my only dress up. Maybe a Yankee hat, but yeah, that's about it for me.
Lame. I wanted to be Cheech and Chong with Musso when we were doing early line. You know, he's apparently a stoner. At least that's what Matt Moscona and Ryan Terrio and all the people always say, and they tell me that in the chat too. So I thought it would have been cool to be Cheech and Chong. He wasn't down, but fortunately on OTB we are dressing up. So stay tuned for that Monday morning, 7 through 10 a.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. So like we said, we do have a full hour to go, and we have a packed hour number 2 here. We'll make a pick on Saints Raiders in the next segment, a game that I'm kind of dreading a little bit, if I'm going to be honest with you, Hilly. We'll also talk to Joel Myers of Bally Sports at 2:30. He's the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans, who face the Suns in Phoenix tonight. Also the former TV play-by-play voice of your favorite team, the 0-4 LA Lakers. So maybe we'll talk a little bit of Lakers with Joel as well, and we'll do a little Ask Us in the final segment. Although it is Football Friday, you could ask us anything you want, but football questions definitely encouraged here as we're 8 days away from LSU and Alabama inside of Tiger Stadium. But as far as tomorrow goes, Hilly, you're going to have a rare day off on a college football game day. You looking forward to just chilling and watching football all day, I would assume? What's your bye week Saturday going to look like?
Normally pretty depressing when I don't have my Tigers to look forward to. So, I got to figure it out. Probably cut on the cocktail party a little bit. Check out Anthony Richardson, probably throw for 20 yards. And probably check out a little Ohio State, Penn State a little bit. And Probably chill, man. Just crush some brews and just relax, hang out with the pups, and just kick and hang back, man. It's gonna miss my Tigers, but it'll be a perfect 7 days of build up for the real matchup, and kind of just precursor that.
That sounds lovely, man. I'm looking forward to my Saturday as well. And you mentioned Florida, Georgia, so let's talk about it for a moment here. Georgia is a 22.5-point favorite in this game, 2:30 p.m. kickoff on CBS in a game that might not exist for very much longer, especially not in this setting in Jacksonville, Florida, where it always is. Anthony Richardson started the season really good against Utah. You had people on these airwaves comparing him to Cam Newton. He's really regressed since. And Georgia looked a little vulnerable in that game against Missouri, but pretty much throughout the season, they've looked like the same machine that they were last year. I see this game maybe being close by halftime, but I look at the 22.5-point line here, and I feel pretty good about Georgia covering. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm worried about that Florida defense. You're giving up, 45 to an LSU offense that was sleepy up most of the season this year, and now you're going against a well-oiled machine, best tight end in all of college football, and Mr. Quavius Stetson Bennett. He's looking like Lamar Jackson on any given Saturday, and that defense is going to be very, very difficult to run the ball. I think Hunt and I both took Georgia to cover that, and I think it's going to be very interesting if the pushing Napiers can figure out a way to cover.
The pushing Napiers. He definitely has a lot of work to do down there in Gainesville. And speaking of first-year coaches that have a lot of work to do, Josh Freeman and Notre Dame have kind of struggled a little bit as Hilly celebrates, I think, with the little hand motion there. They were talking a lot of smack coming into the season, and I think a lot of Fighting Irish fans and media have been humbled a little bit, but they're at Syracuse this week. The Orange, a 2.5-point favorite, and Syracuse had Clemson dead in the water, I think, last week. Tigers could not stop fumbling. Syracuse couldn't take advantage, but Dino Favors' boys still looking pretty decent up to this point. Like I said, they're a 2.5-point favorite against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has a tough schedule coming up, starting with this game. So I would feel pretty good about the Orange winning, covering that line. What do you think about Notre Dame's struggles going into this game?
I'm sure every Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan on the planet wished that football program played as better or played as good as they made Hangover remake videos. And so I think if they can get to that level of production on any given Saturday, I'm sure the Fighting Irish fans will be a lot more happier. So yeah, I don't think they're just going to be very good this year. Huge drop off from Big BK leaving that program, and a lot of slander. But I'm pretty sure they probably want that guy back coaching that football team.
Did you actually like that video, or are you just poking fun at them? Because I
thought it wasn't that bad. I thought it could have been a lot worse. I thought normally when you get guys who've never acted a single second in their life, trying to put something together in a day's time. But no, I thought it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I thought the acting was pretty good, especially from Freeman. Like, I thought he played his role pretty well, but that kind of stuff is really cringe when you're not winning, right? Like, if LSU was 4-3, 3-4 right now, you'd be seeing a lot more of Brian Kelly with that tight end recruit on the platform that LSU ended up not getting. But when you're winning, things are good. When you're not winning, you're going to start feeling the heat a little bit. And I think that's happening to Josh Freeman over there at Notre Dame. Speaking of heat, Tennessee on fire right now. Number 3 team in the country. They take care of business against a cupcake last week after that big win against Alabama. Now they host Kentucky, and the Volunteers are getting a lot of points here. 12.5 against a Kentucky team that has Will Levis back in the lineup. Honestly, I like Tennessee to win here, but I think maybe we're underestimating Kentucky just a little bit. To me, 12.5 points seems like kind of a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but I think anytime you kind of look at the level of that Tennessee offense, just how many points they can score on any given Saturday, they're calling off the dogs after first quarters now, which is just absolutely crazy. So I don't know if Kentucky's offense can match them and score. Like I haven't seen them play to that level. I know they shut down the air raid, that Leach offense, just how explosive they are. But I think Tennessee can cover that. It's gonna have to take a heroic effort from Levis to go play on the road and have a big time game, and they're gonna really have to hope that they're looking forward to Georgia. But I think that's all. I feel comfortable in Tennessee covering that.
A decent slate in college football this Saturday on LSU's bye week. I think it's a little bit better slate in the NFL, Hilly. You got some big games in the pros this Sunday, including a big matchup in the NFC West, the 49ers at the Rams. And usually Shanahan has had McVay's number in this series, although McVay did get him in the NFC Championship game last year. But this is a big game in the division. I think the 49ers have a legitimate chance to win this division, despite all the injuries they've suffered. And the Rams off to kind of a slow start after winning the Super Bowl last year. But this is a huge game in the division, and whoever comes out on top here will have an advantage throughout the rest of the way. The 49ers, I'm looking right now, are a 1.5 point favorite. You looking forward to this game?
It's a good time game because I did pick the 49ers to represent the NFC and the NFC Championship. And, not looking too great with my man Jimmy G running the show right now. But I think, they're trying to get McCaffrey going. He'll get another week to kind of learn this offense and figure out a bigger role for him. And just looking at all the weapons they have, when you have Debo, you have Kittle, that offense should be, a lot more explosive than they have been. And so, they got a really hellacious pass rush, and that, Rams offensive line has done a terrible job blocking for Stafford all season long. So I think it's a spot, for the Niners to try to find a way to win a game. Who would have thought the fighting Geno Smith would be in first place in the NFC West right now? But that's where they are. So for the Niners, they got to cover their ground, got to try to find a way to get a win there.
Do you think Seattle keeps that up? That's kind of what I was getting at when I was talking about the importance of this game. Like, give Pete Carroll a lot of credit, give Geno Smith a lot of credit, but I think when you get to the nitty-gritty, it will come down to these two teams. Like, I trust Matt Stafford. I trust Jimmy Garoppolo, who I've seen do it in the playoffs. Geno is a good story so far. He's done a great job up to this point, but I just don't see Seattle maintaining it the whole season.
Yeah, I mean,
they lost to the Saints.
Yeah, who would have thought, man? Pete Carroll, getting rid of Mr. Unlimited, man. Mr. Pirouette in the middle of the field, 50-yard line, high knees, 6 hours on a flight. Like, that's a really great guy to have as a quarterback. But, Pete Carroll saw the light, wanted the fighting Geno Smith to take over the show. But actually, Geno's been playing well. Top 10 in QBR. No missing DK is going to hurt that offense a little bit. But they got Kenneth Walker running the ball the way he has, and that's really, really difficult to deal with. I don't see that slowing down. And their defense is playing scrappy, like Will in that corner. Just as a sneaky football team that you don't really have that given respect going into a Sunday. Then they start playing, and you realize really quick that they're not just going to lay down and they're not going to back down like the immortal Tom Petty.
Dude, shout out to Tom Petty. Why would Russ admit that to those reporters, man? Like, even if they asked him like what his routine was, he's going to get clowned for that. And he's kind of the poster child of like getting whipped by the media right now in the NFL. The same way you're seeing with Russell Westbrook in the NBA. Like, media right now, honestly, know that they're going to get a lot of clicks if you criticize Russell Wilson. And you see a lot of that going on. And that's why I was really surprised to see him admit that. The fact he was doing high knees on the plane when everybody's trying to sleep.
Yeah, you saw Justin Tucker and Marlon Humphrey joining in on the fun last night that played the Bucs, nothing to do with Russell Wilson, but they're trolling him on their flight back to Baltimore. It's just it's almost getting to a point of low-hanging fruit, but I think with the way, Russell's been playing this season with all the kind of noise this offseason and getting out of Seattle and, all the quotes and everything and all the TikToks, which I think is going to get into that Jackson Mahomes area for my man Russell Wilson. So, yeah, you got to play better. And I think, if he can do that, he can shut people up. But if he continues to play at this level, he's got to continue to get it all season long.
So as I continue to look at the NFL slate here for Sunday, the Colts have a big game on Sunday against the Commanders. Indianapolis up to this point 3-3-1, although it feels like they've played a little bit worse in that record. And Washington 3-4 going into this game. And obviously the big story is that Matt Ryan got benched. Apparently 28 weeks and 3 days into his tenure as Colts quarterback, which I haven't confirmed as a stat, but still it's funny the fact that the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, and they deserve to be ridiculed for the rest of the time. So I am cool with that. But Matt Ryan has been benched by the Colts, and they go right past Nick Foles, who Frank Reich knows really well, to Sam Ehlinger. He's back, and he's a starter now in the NFL, which is pretty crazy. Again, that's something that I did not have on my bingo card going into week 8. Matt Ryan being benched, not for Nick Foles, but for Ryan Ehlinger. What do you make of the situation with Matty Ice?
I don't think any Colts fan predicted this, man. You got a former MVP, at running the show, and obviously you're looking at that running back that they have in the backfield. You thought that offense would be a lot more explosive. They'd be executed on a high level, and that's a scrappy defense with a lot of veteran guys and some guys who can make plays on that defense. And so a lot of people were picking the Colts to walk through that division and win it. Just Matt Ryan's play hasn't been to the level that you need at an NFL level to execute time and time again. And so they're getting the Texas kid, the kid that put Texas back on the map, running the show, and they'll kind of see what he can do. I know he has a little more mobility than Ryan, obviously, and maybe they're going to try to use that, in their offense. But I don't think any Colts fan thought, Ryan be getting benched this early in the season.
Falcons-Panthers is a big game. I do want to get a thought on that one because, again, whoever wins this game will take control of They will take first place. They'll be solely in first place. There we go. Whoever wins. And that's crazy to think up to this point with Atlanta, with Carolina, who were supposed to be in the cellar of the NFC South, right? But whoever wins this game is solely, there we go, in first place in the NFC South, and that's a crazy thing. Who do you think actually has a better chance to win the division? Because to me, I think it's Atlanta. Atlanta with Marcus Mariota is kind of a different team, right? They present different challenges, and I think a big challenge for Arthur Smith and for those guys is to get Kyle Pitts a little bit more involved, because their record looks good, at least relative to the rest of their division. But Kyle Pitts is putting up single-digit yards like every single game, and they're not throwing the ball very much at all, much less to Kyle Pitts. But if they can figure out a way to get him a little bit more involved, I think they're a more realistic pick to shock the world and win the division. But it would have to start with this game against Carolina.
So you're making me pick between Andy Dalton, P.J. Walker, Marcus Mariota. No, I'm going with the Bucs until I see different. They're going to have to be mathematically eliminated. I'm not rolling with those guys. Too small of a sample size, too many football games left to play. I think the Bucs somehow figure it out and win this division. They're not like they're way out of it. They're game back. I got to go with the Bucs. There's too much talent on that roster, not believing in the XFL quarterback. Sorry.
I was just kind of asking between those two teams because nobody would have thought they would make it this far. But Carolina, with an interim coach and with an XFL legend at quarterback, still being in this situation, to me, is absolutely insane. And they deserve a lot of credit. I know Steve Wilkes isn't going to get that job, but I thought he got kind of a raw deal in Arizona after just 1 year. And I think he's doing a really good job kind of auditioning as an NFL coach, if not a head coach. So that'll be a big game on Sunday. Lots of big games on Sunday in the NFL, including the Saints hosting the Oakland Raiders. These are two teams that are kind of underachieving up to this point, at least in terms of their record. On the other side of this break, we'll give you a pick on that game. Then we'll talk a little NBA with Joel Myers at 2:30. Then we'll wrap up the show with some Ask Us at 2:45. Maybe I'll learn how to say soul too. Find out on the other side of this break here on Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
One of the things I love about betting on the NFL is that I'm always finding new players or game props that I like. And what's cool about FanDuel Sportsbook, you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score even a bigger payout.
That's right. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay bet, so lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're new, you could sign up today with promo code 1045ESPN for your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's promo code 1045ESPN. And remember, first online real wager money only, and $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
As a community bank, B1 Bank invests in relationships with the people and businesses we proudly represent. Our B1 bankers are here to help simplify the complicated, understand your needs, and make managing your finances easier. At B1 Bank, we offer an array of solutions to help simplify your transaction needs. B1 Bank, one highly personal banking experience. Visit us online at b1bank.com for more information.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community. We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
College football doubleheader this Saturday. First, the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs face the Florida Gators in their annual rivalry at 2:30 p.m.
Then the Texas A&M Aggies host the Ole Miss Rebels at 6:30 p.m.
It's all right here on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Big game for both teams inside of the Caesars Superdome this Sunday afternoon. Noon kickoff between the Saints and the Raiders. New Orleans a 1-point underdog as of this moment. The Saints are 2-5. The Raiders are 2-4. Big game for both teams like we said. So we promised you a pick. Let's give you a pick on Saints versus Raiders.
New Orleans Saints. Las Vegas Raiders. Final big.
Well, Hilly, this is the Dennis Allen Bowl. To me, this is the biggest game for Dennis Allen as an NFL head coach because the nickname given to him by some people in the Bayou 4 chat here, Mr. 8-28, is now Mr. 10-33, and he just made his biggest decision as head coach of the Saints, putting your boy Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback over now a healthy, supposedly, Jameis Winston. I don't know how much confidence Saints fans should have going into this Sunday in Dennis Allen. I honestly don't know about that decision. I know Andy Dalton has been really good for the Saints, but we'll see if it pays off if Jameis Winston is indeed healthy. But the Raiders, I know, are coming in this game a little bit desperate as well. They're 2-4 on the season. They've had their bye week already, unlike the Saints, but they're coming off a big win last week against the Houston Texans, and that was after their bye week. There's a lot for the Saints to contend here with this Raiders offense. Josh Jacobs is playing really good. Devontae Adams will be active, it looks like. It looks like Darren Waller will be playing as well, and while the Saints could put up a valiant effort here at home, they're just missing too much in the secondary for me. With Marshawn Lattimore being out, it looks like that's going to be the case. Bradley Roby now on IR. I think DeMario Davis, Cam Jordan, Kamara, Taysom, the leaders of this team could play inspired at home, and they can keep the Saints close. But with all the injuries in the secondary, I just don't know how New Orleans can get it done. So if I'm going to give you a prediction, I would say it's going to be the Raiders coming away with the win, with the score being close to 24-20 in favor of Las Vegas.
I'm going to pump some Saints flavor into the universe here. Give some Bayou 4 chat some love, get some Saints fans some love, and just dark times for the Saints. And with the Bucs losing, maybe that uplifts this football team, the struggling football team. Who would have thought the Saints record would be to this point? But they need some love. They need a victory. So I actually got the fighting Andy Dalton's finding a way to get a big-time win in the Superdome and beating the Raiders 27-21. Here we go, Saints.
That's the thing, man. Maybe I'm a little off base, but I'm just pessimistic because coming into the season, I had really talked myself into Dennis Allen as head coach and Jameis Winston as starting quarterback being a successful formula for this team. And I kind of had it in my head that if Andy Dalton's ever playing, that's a problem. You're not where you want to be. Now, the stats don't really agree with me. Like I said, statistically, the Saints have been a lot better with Andy Dalton in there. They're top 5 in the NFL in points per game since Andy Dalton took over in Week 4. And in that time, they're top 5 in yards per game, 417.3. They're top 5 in third down conversions at 48.1%. And I think he's doing a really good job pre-snap, too. Like, Jameis Winston was having a lot of trouble identifying certain things. If the defense ever brought a zero blitz, the Saints were completely screwed. They did not know how to pick that up. And Andy Dalton's doing a much better job going through his progressions. He's getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker. But I know you and Hunt talked about this. Ultimately, if the Saints are going to rally here, remember they do have a chance to win this division. They're still in it. Do you think the right call is to go with Andy now full-time over a healthy Jameis Winston?
Yeah, I think, for the Saints, there's a reason why they went after Deshaun. There's a reason that they went after Mr. Unlimited this offseason, because they just didn't love what they had at the quarterback position. So they had to scramble and kind of, get what they could get, especially in the quarterback market that was this last offseason. So I think either way, I don't think either one is like just totally surpassing the other. I think on any given Sunday, they can give you the same performance, whether they light you up with a bunch of yards, or you may see some turnovers from either one of those guys. But I think right now, like you said, the way Andy's kind of, got this offense scoring a lot more points than Jameis has, I think they're going to roll with that option going forward, especially with Jameis coming off that big-time injury last year and kind of still battling all those injuries this year. It's definitely on the table that he may get hurt again. And so I think rolling with Andy and kind of seeing where it takes you, it's not the worst decision in the world.
Hilly picks the Saints on Sunday. I picked the Raiders. And talking about Las Vegas for just a second here, Josh Jacobs has been the catalyst for this team the last couple of games. He has over 140 rushing yards in the last 3 games, and he's been really good. Meanwhile, the Saints' rush defense has not been very good, and that's a little scary going into this matchup. I mean, Eno Benjamin and the Cardinals were basically getting whatever they wanted last week. 7.7 yards per carry for Eno Benjamin. And on the season, the Saints are giving up 4.7 yards per carry, which is not very characteristic of this defense. This was an elite rush defense the last couple of years. Now, not so much, and that's on the ground. In the air, you're going to have to contend with Hunter Renfrow. You're going to have to worry about Darren Waller. And obviously, Devontae Adams, when he's not pushing people around after the games, he's been playing pretty well. 84.8 receiving yards per game for Oakland. Hasn't been bad by any stretch. Like I said, I think he's been pretty good. But that being said, I feel like Carr maybe hasn't gotten on the ball as much as people expected. And Devontae Adams maybe hasn't been as impactful as Raiders fans have hoped.
Yeah, I think anytime you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and you saw them, reach that rapport level, that it's very hard to deal with and pretty much unmatched. It's hard to kind of switch over to a new quarterback that you're having. I know they're college teammates, but it's hard to kind of replicate that in that short order. But Devontae's one of the more talented receivers in all of football, and to me, he's still having a big-time season. You can't just disrespect that guy and put your third and fourth corner on him and expect him to shut a guy like that down. And so, yeah, for the Saints, you definitely don't want those guys trying to guard him, especially in one-on-one situations. He's still a guy that you really got to prepare for and make sure you try to shut out in these game plans.
Like I said, the only way the Saints win this game is if their dudes really play like dudes. Like, you're going to need a huge game out of Taysom Hill, kind of like we saw in that game against the Seahawks, and you're going to need a big game out of Alvin Kamara as well. But to Alvin's credit, he's been playing really well recently. He has 6 receptions in 3 straight games for the Saints, and he's also running the ball pretty well between the tackles, 4.4 yards per carry for Alvin in the last 3 games. And I think both he and Demario Davis have done a good job showing leadership throughout the week. Apparently, after the last loss in Arizona, Alvin Kamara felt the locker room like really quiet, like a scary kind of quiet. And he spoke up. He said that we had to start playing quote unquote Saints football again. And that includes him as well. He's had some really bad fumbles this year, but this team really needs to get right. And week after week, at least for us on OTB, we've talked about this is a must win. This is a must win. Well, this one really is a must win. If you drop to 2-6 against Dennis Allen's old team with the Baltimore Ravens on the horizon, you're really not feeling good about yourself, and you're basically just treading water the rest of the season. So the Saints really need a big effort from their key guys this Sunday if they're going to get this win.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. It couldn't be a worse start to a season if you're the Saints, if you're anyone involved with that football organization, the coaches, the players, fans. It's bad for everyone. I don't think anyone thought, looking at that roster preseason, that they'd be, on the verge of having a record like this, especially if they lose this game this Sunday. So getting the win, going back in the right direction, and being right in the thick of things in the FC South, be a big-time win for the Saints.
It's sad, man. Like, it really kind of hit me like a brick this past week that the Sean Payton era very much over, and the Dennis Allen era is not off to a good start. And I try to not poo-poo on Dennis too much because I think he's an excellent defensive football coach. Like, he helped his team turn their defense around, and he almost became the second defensive coordinator to join Sean Payton in the Super Bowl. But as a head coach, he's faced certain challenges, and I don't think he's met them very well, to be honest with you. So for his sake, not saying he's going to be on the hot seat if he loses, at least not yet this Sunday, but he really kind of needs this win, I think, to get this season back on track in his first year, because the Saints are not able to get this win. It's going to start to get a little bit ugly, and you're going to start to lose hope, start talking about next year when you don't have a first-round pick, and that's not a situation you want to be in. So big game for the New Orleans Saints this Sunday, and guess what, Hilly? The other professional New Orleans sports team actually has more victories than the Saints up to this point. The Pelicans have 3 and the Saints have 2, and it's late October, so that's usually not a good thing. But it is really good if you're a Pelicans fan, I guess. And if you're a Pelicans fan, you should stay tuned for the other side of this break, because we will talk to Joel Myers of Bally Sports, the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans. Big game for New Orleans tonight in Phoenix against the Suns. We'll preview that game, talk a little Pellies, maybe talk a little bit of Lakers as well. That's coming up on the other side here on Hunt and Hill. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
Reliable Roofing and Construction, ReliableRoofingBR.com.
Yeah, so I have to tell you guys about Reliable Roofing, a family-run, owned, and operated residential roofing company. They've been in business since 2008 with over 30 years of roofing experience.
Lionel Hayes, born and raised in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to be specific, and he's here to serve his community, not one of these roofing companies that's going to come in, try to take advantage of a storm, and then bail. He's going to be here. In fact, he's going to visit the site when they work on your home. They're going to give you a great selection of shingles. They're going to give you unbelievable quality in their work, and they stand by it. That's why they give you a 5-year labor warranty on every job that they do. You can check out their work on Instagram at Reliable Roofing LLC. They do a great job there. At ReliableRoofingBR.com is the website. And look, if you get your roof handled here in the next 3 days, so give them a call today. $1,000 off that roof replacement for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Reliable Roofing and Construction. Check out the website, ReliableRoofingBR.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
Jimmy on 10 a.m. to noon every Sunday for Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday. We recap LSU and college football in the first hour, Rohan Davey, and then preview the NFL with punch of picks from 7 different contributing handicappers. That's Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday, 10 a.m. to noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to the show. Mario Jerez filling in for Hunt Palmer alongside Jeremy Hill, as it's a football Friday, but we're about to talk some NBA, and we should. How about them Pelicans, Hilly? 3-1 on the year. Your Lakers are 0-4. The Pelicans have their pick. There's a lot of season left, but it's good times right now for this team and for this franchise. And joining us now to talk about it, the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans, Joel Myers of Bally Sports. He and Antonio Daniels will be on the call tonight as the Pels visit the Suns in a rematch of last year's first-round Western Conference playoff series. Joel, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Doing well, guys. Just getting ready for the matchup tonight and rematch of the playoff series from last year. And the Suns are playing really well, especially Devin Booker. So getting ready for a challenge for the Pels.
Always fun when they match up with CP3. Spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and that playoff series was definitely a lot of fun last year. But I want to start with the health of the team, Joel. This team was really shorthanded the other night in the win against Dallas, and tonight it looks like Zion, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, Dyson Daniels, and CJ McCollum are all questionable for this game against Phoenix. That being said, what's the latest you're hearing? Has anything changed as far as the status of all these guys?
Well, no, I think it's going to be a game-time decision for Willie after the guys go through, the 90 minutes, 2 hours before the game, getting warmed up, getting ready. A couple of them look good, though, this morning in shoot-around, so we'll see. But I know CJ he's going to be back on the floor. I would be surprised if he isn't, or the type of guy that wants to play 35 or 36 minutes a game. And at this point of his career, he knows he's got a great opportunity as a leader on a very young team. I would be shocked if CJ wasn't on the floor. The others, though, guys, it basically is going to be a game-time decision.
I agree with you about CJ. I was really impressed with his performance in the last game, Joel, because he didn't have a great shooting night, 6 for 20, but he made some huge shots down the stretch of that game. And that win overall was really impressive for the Pelicans to beat a team that was in the conference finals with no BI, no Zion, no Herb Jones. And honestly, when you read out all the names that are hurt going into tonight, regardless of who's in the game, I feel good about the Pelicans at least keeping this one close. How impressed were you with that win against Dallas? And does that give you optimism going into tonight, regardless of who's playing?
Yeah, they're going to be able to compete with anybody this year. I mean, this is just the beginning for this group, and they know it. It's just an opening of a window that is only going to get better for all of us. So give credit to the front office because, as Griff said all the time over the last 3 years, he wants it to be sustainable. Well, he's got exactly that because with the exception of a couple of older guys like CJ, Jonas, who's 30, Larry, who's 29, 30, then everybody else is like Brandon, 25 or under. So this is just the beginning for this group. I think they're going to compete at a high level all year long. And the challenge and the test for them is staying in the top 6 because the West is brutal this year. But you've also got to take into consideration the start to stretch tonight of 6 of the next 7 on the road. And 5 of those 7 are going to come against teams who are in the playoffs or play-in teams from last season. So it starts tonight, but then you got an early Sunday game with the Clippers. And you got to believe that they're going to be feeling it after losing 2 straight in Oklahoma City where Kawhi didn't play. And then the Lakers on Wednesday, still in Southern California. And the Lakers, they've been hurting. They're going to be in Minneapolis tonight against a Timberwolves team that's been kind of up and down. So these next 6, 7 games are going to tell us a lot because the 8 of the first 11 for the Pels were on the road. And guys, if they can get through that and a little bit over 500, they're in great shape.
Obviously, with the Saints season going the way it has and so much, promise and hope for this Pelicans team, what has the atmosphere been like in the Smoothie King Center this season?
Well, they feed off the team. There's a spirit and there's an energy. I mean, with Jose and Trey and Najee, and I think everybody's just kind of like gotten into this group. There's an attachment, a relationship, and they've connected. Very similar to what the Saints have had over the last 20 years under Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland and those guys in the front office there. It's a destination, a place you want to be because they're good to their players, the locker room's great, and that's what the Pels have now. So I think to your question about what's it like in the Smoothie King Center, well, everybody's feeding off the energy of this young squad. They're dancing. And, nobody needs an excuse to dance or party in New Orleans.
And they love their head coach, too. For me, it all starts with Willie Green, as we're talking to Joel Myers here on Hunt and Hill, TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans. And, Joel, I don't know if you're familiar with John Taffer, Bar Rescue, but I always say Willie Green's got a little John Taffer in him in that he doesn't look for excuses. He only looks for solutions. And his quotes after the last game against the Mavericks were really interesting because he talked about the team not getting down when these injuries happen. In fact, guys get excited because there's more opportunity for certain players. And me and my co-host here have argued a little bit about Devontae Graham. Some Pelicans fans want him traded, but I think the Pels really need his shooting, and he took advantage of the opportunity, I think, last game with the extra minutes and making some big shots. So that being said, who are some guys on this team that can take advantage of this opportunity if they do indeed need to play more minutes?
Well, I truly believe Trey's going to get a lot of minutes now. So Trey Murphy's just going into his second season, and they've already picked up his third year. Like Kyrie yesterday, they picked up his fourth year. It's the depth of this squad. And then it's unique when guys really cheer for the other guy who could potentially be taking away their minutes to succeed. They're pulling for them just as much as that guy is pulling for them when they're on the floor. So it's the healthiest of atmospheres, guys. I mean, I've been around a couple of other teams, and early in my days with the Spurs about 25 years ago, Pop's always had that with San Antonio, Greg Popovich. But this is a unique situation, and that's why I said it's just the beginning. So look at Tyra Lewis. Tyra can play, and he's going to be coming back soon. So there's a lot of good things going on right now for the Pels. The minutes are going to be there. Najee, you look at guys that weren't drafted like Najee and Jose, the way they compete, the way they fight, that's contagious. Internal competition, and it's even more prevalent when you have a 53-man roster in the NFL. Internal competition is really healthy, and that's how you succeed. Guys pushing and motivating each other.
What's your level of confidence that not only this team can, stay healthy enough to challenge to get a great seed in the West, but also be healthy going into the playoffs and make a charge in the playoffs this season?
Well, good fortune to your question is health, period. If you stay healthy, this team's really deep. I mean, they can play 10 or 11 guys, and you saw them missing 3 starters in the last game. They had 8 guys in double figures. Didn't force a thing. And then they didn't collapse. In fact, when they went down by 7 with about 9 minutes left in the game, they responded. See, this is a group that really fights for Willie. There's a trust factor, and you brought up Willie Green earlier. Willie Green is a player. He wasn't the most skilled guy in the world, but boy, he'd get into you. He was a very physical guard. I remember when he came out of Detroit Mercy, and with the 76ers as draft pick, and I had a lot of his games, Willie just got after it. Willie got into you. So they're responding to their head coach. It's a great staff. I can go down the list of guys with Jaron Collins, Casey Hill. We can go down the whole list of guys that are on the staff. They're doing a good job, and there's a believability and a trust from the coaching staff all the way through the players, the locker room, and then the training staff, which is Aaron Nelson, Tom Maystat, and all those guys.
You love to see it. And speaking of Willie Green, he faces his mentor tonight, his former coach from when he was a player, Monty Williams, and the Phoenix Suns. We know this is a team with championship aspirations, Joel. And if you look at the stats, Chris Paul has gotten off to somewhat of a slow start, under 10 points. He's shooting just under 37%. But you have Devin Booker playing at an all-NBA level, 32 points per game. DeAndre Ayton's putting up 18 and 9 per game. What challenges will Phoenix present tonight, and what'll be some keys for the Pelicans, who might be a little shorthanded in the Valley of the Sun?
Well, it's always Chris Paul. It always starts there. He averages right at 10 assists a game right now. And if you can keep him out of his comfort spots, then you've got a chance to win. So they'll bring Cameron Zan off the bench, and he does a good job for them, but he's only a couple of assists a game off the bench for them. But it's all about Chris Paul. And then protect the wings. Cam Johnson's their deep threat, like Trey is the deep threat for the Pels. And Mikal Bridges is their best two-way player. He's an exceptional defender, although Devin Booker has got much better at the defensive end of the floor. So, but it starts with Chris Paul. Yeah, and then they've got it. They're deeper, even picking up Damian Lee, the former Golden State Warriors. So it's going to be interesting. Plus, they have Shaman who can make threes. But to me, if you can slow down Chris Paul, get him off his game a little bit, force some turnovers, frustrate him, then you can compete at a high level against Phoenix.
Joel, before we let you get out of here, I know that you're the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans now. You used to hold the same position for the LA Lakers, and you're not watching a YouTube stream right now, but my co-host here is wearing a number 8 Kobe Bryant jersey, and if we could, I'd like to get your thoughts on the situation going on over there. The Lakers are off to an 0-4 start, and obviously that's a good thing for the Pelicans, who hold the rights to a pick swap with LA this year. What do you make of the slow start for LA, and do you think they can recover before the end of the season?
Yeah, it's 4 games into the season, guys. I think there's plenty of time. When you've got LeBron and AD, they're going to be fine. Other guys will pick it up a little bit. And then they're going to make a trade. There's no question they're going to get more shooting. They're going to go after a couple of guys. There's a couple of guys that are being dangled out there right now. So we'll see. But it's no reason to panic. Anytime you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, 2 players, the best player, LeBron, in the league, still to this day, a fourth who's turning 38 soon. So they have no reason to panic. The only reason they're probably upset a little bit is you're playing from behind. And I mean in the standings. Do you want to finish top 6? And the West is really going to be tough this year. To be in the top 6 this year in the West is brutal. That's how deep it is in the Western Conference. So that's the only concern for them. They don't want to finish 7, 8, 9, or 10 and be in the play-in game. They want to make sure they're in the top 6. So they're playing catch-up from the outset. But it's a long, long march. It's just beginning.
That it is, and Joel will be with that march for the rest of the season as the TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans. You can catch him tonight, 9 p.m. tip on Bally Sports New Orleans with Antonio Daniels. Joel, thanks so much for the time. You and AD do such a great job, man, and I'm looking forward to watching y'all tonight as the Pels take on Phoenix.
All right. Thank you for having me, guys. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Joel Myers of Bally Sports, TV play-by-play voice of the Pelicans. You agree with his take on the Lakers there? You seem a little bit more defeated whenever I talk to you. He seems a little bit more optimistic about the team he used to broadcast for.
To Rob Pelinka, you mean like the guy who they hired to put the worst team around AD and LeBron is going to somehow change that roster in record time and get some shooters, and with all the capital we have and draft picks and all the talent we have to give away on this roster? Sure, let's see it. I'd love to see that.
I would not love to see that. I hope y'all keep losing, and I hope the Pelicans get Victor Wembanyama. Make it happen. That'll do it for the basketball talk here on a Football Friday edition of Hunt and Hill. We'll wrap up the show with a little bit of Ask Us. You can ask us anything in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. Looks like we still got a healthy audience out there listening/watching. Please ask football questions. Football questions definitely encouraged, but you can ask us anything you want on the other side of this break. This is Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, guys, if you're like me, you got Christmas coming up, you got a wife's birthday coming up, you got an anniversary coming up. There's a lot of gifts that got to be done, and if we wait too late, you're not going to have what you need. One Bath & Closets can help you out. Wouldn't she like a bathroom renovation? Wouldn't she like new closet space? One Bath & Closets can make that happen. David Duvall, been at it for 3 decades. Bathrooms and closets. If you've got ample closet space, but you don't know how to use it, there's stuff thrown everywhere, shoes all over the place, belts hanging from, he can fix that. He can help you optimize your current space, or they are licensed contractors. He can go in and create you a new closet space or a new bathroom. Right now, if you tell them that Hunt and Hill sent you to One Bath & Closets, 30% off your new closet. 30% off the renovation. Certainly not an insignificant amount of money. You don't have to move to get a new bathroom space, new closet space. They can come in your existing home and make that happen for you. It's One Bath & Closets. They promise you one thing for sure. They're not going to take some shortcuts to get on to the next job and then come back 3 weeks later and fix something because it's broken. Not going to happen. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. 30% off your closet renovation. Give it a thought for Christmas. One Bath & Closets is your stop. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like, again and again and again. Mom got me the right care, the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them. The right card, the right care.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite.
On Mondays, OTB. Did the Saints save their season, or does bitter disappointment rule the day? Plus, how did the Pels fare in their trip out west? And you already know it's Bama week. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up a Football Friday here on Hunt and Hill. Mario Jerez filling in for a vacationing Hunt Palmer. He'll be back on Monday as it will be Bama week. Exciting times for him and my co-host here, Jeremy Hill. Shout out to Casey and to Taylor for holding it down on the audio and video board. And shout out to both of our guests today. Very much enjoyed our conversations with Carter Bryant in the first hour and with Joel Myers, TV play-by-play voice of the Pellies. Last segment, the Lakers are still winless, the Pelicans are not, so good times if you're a New Orleans Pelicans fan, not so much if you're a Lakers fan. All that being said, usually this is when y'all do take it or leave it. We'll skip over that today, and we'll do what we always do to wrap up the show in our host, and that's take your questions with a little bit of Ask Us. So let's see what you got for us in the Bayou 4 chat here today. First question, Edward O, hashtag Ask Us. Best college game this weekend. I think UK will give Tennessee a good scare. Like I said, I like Kentucky to maybe cover in that game. I don't know if they get the win, but I do think that'll be an entertaining game. Kentucky was really close to beating Ole Miss on the road a couple of weeks ago. It might be a similar scenario where a couple plays made the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to take things to College Station, and I know I love this nickname, Texas 3-4, but I'm just going to love 3-5 just way better. So, yeah, I'm going to be tuned in to Hottie Toddy, my boy Lane, dialing him up and getting a little payback on DJ Durkin for taking that Texas A&M stimulus package and just getting that cash to just have a losing season and not make a bowl game. So, Hottie Toddy, let's go Rebs, and let's get a big-time win in College Station.
Okay, I'll put you on the spot here and ask you a question you can't possibly know the answer to, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you think they were actually smoking weed? Like, there might be some tinfoil stuff going on right there because that wouldn't get leaked, I don't think, if that really was the situation? Do you really think that they were smoking reefer after a football game at A&M?
When things can go wrong, they will go wrong with the Aggies. And so I'm not putting anything. Anytime you got players going 100 miles per hour in a parking garage and getting suspended for God knows what, and yeah, I don't put anything past the Aggies. They stink, and I love every bit. I don't want to smell it ever, but yeah, they stink.
Fair enough. Shout out to Nookie, hashtag Ask Us, worst Halloween candy. And why is it those black and orange taffy things? This might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't like candy corn. I don't like the texture. I don't like the taste. To me, that's the worst Halloween candy. What say you?
I'm going to go Tootsie Rolls because I don't feel like chewing for 5 hours straight. It's just way too much chewing going on. Your jaw's going to break with all those Tootsie Rolls. So, yeah, I'll go Tootsie Rolls.
That's a good one. Me and Casey mutually agreed that Dots is the worst Halloween candy.
I kind of like Dots. They're a little dry compared
They're
to like...
stuck in your teeth for 4 days, Mario.
That's fair. They're a little tasty, but that's fair. Hashtag Ask Us, Ivy Abear. Is Taysom the best quarterback on the Saints roster? That's an interesting question. I had to think about it. I still don't think he's the best pure quarterback, like every single tool, but he's a hell of a football player. I enjoy broadcasting his games.
No, he's probably the best athlete on the Saints roster as far as just pure NFL quarterback. We kind of saw that experiment with the Saints. I'm going to go with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, the fighting Andy Dalton's this weekend. Get a full taste of that Saints fan. So, yeah, no, I don't think Taysom's the best quarterback.
Hashtag Ask Us, bowl prediction for this weekend. It could be NFL football. It could be pro football. My bold prediction is the Packers come away with an upset against the Buffalo Bills in the NFL. You can get Aaron Rodgers as a double-digit underdog. That's something you almost never see. And I know they've gotten off to a rough start, but he had a talking to with some of his teammates this week. That's still Aaron Rodgers over there. Their defense lost some key guys, but I think that group is capable of playing better. And my bold prediction will be that Green Bay goes in there and they get a big win.
My bold prediction for the first time in college football history, the losing team at home is going to storm the field, and they're going to kidnap Jimbo and get him out of town, and that's the only way it's going to happen because they're not paying the buyout. Bold prediction of the week.
That's some Brazilian soccer stuff right there from Jeremy Hill. If that happens, that would be really interesting. That'll pretty much do it for us here today. Shout out to Hunt Palmer, who's vacationing. He'll be back on Monday. Stay tuned for After Further Review. And Matt Moscona coming up next, Football Friday, here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.